Hi guys, so today we're going to learn how to graph function using an XY table. So the first one we're going to do here is f of x equals 2x minus 1. So in this case I gave the x values that I'm going to plug in. If there isn't, then you get to choose whichever ones you want, but I highly suggest that you stick to ones towards 0 because it will most likely fit on the graph. Okay? So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do, these are all my inputs, these are my x values. I'm going to plug it in and then see what I get. Okay, so here I'm going to plug in negative 2 for x, so 2 times negative 2 minus 1. So all I'm doing is taking each of these x values and plugging it in, replacing x with it. So following order of operations, multiplication comes first, so 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. Okay. Then I'm going to plug in negative 1, so 2 times negative 1 minus 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Okay. Then I'm going to plug in 0 for x, so 2 times 0 minus 1. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Okay. Then I'm going to plug in 1 here. 2 times 1 minus 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, and then the last one here, 2 times 2 minus 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. Right, so all I did is I took each of these x values and plugged it in for where x was. Because x is my input. Okay. And then what I get out are y values. Okay, so here this is negative 2, negative 5. So negative 2, negative 5. Then I have negative 1, negative 3, negative 1, negative 3. I have 0, negative 1, 0, negative 1. I have 1, 1, 1, 1. Then I have 2, comma 3, 2, comma 3. Okay? And technically, I could plug in anything in between as well, right? I could plug in things like 1.5, 1.7, things like that. But because of the difficulty, it's a little bit more difficult when we have those fractions and decimals. We're just using these integer numbers to get a general idea of what it looks like. So all I have to do once I have it is connect it. And then it's actually going to go on forever because this is a line. So I'm going to put arrows at the end. Okay. In our next, we'll eventually learn how to actually graph it without having to do an XY table. But for now, and with any function that you haven't learned how to officially graph yet, you can kind of get a general shape of it by plugging in x values and figuring out what the y value is. Okay? So let's look at the next one. So this is a quadratic function. We're going to officially learn how to graph this later on. Okay? So it's going to be the same thing. If there aren't input values or x values given to you, you can choose your own numbers. I normally choose negative 2 to 2 because it's nice and small and it will most likely fit on my graph. Okay, so all I'm going to do is take this x value and plug it in where I see x. Okay, note that whenever we're plugging it in, we're putting it in parentheses. Right? That way we don't accidentally think it's 2 minus 2, right? Because here we're actually multiplying. So that's why whenever we plug things in, it's best to plug it in with parentheses. So we're going to follow order of operations. Exponents comes first. So negative 2 squared is negative 2 times negative 2, which is 4. 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 minus 3 is 5. Then I'm going to plug in negative 1 for x. So 2 times negative 1 squared minus 3. So exponents first. Negative 1 squared is negative 1 times negative 1. So that gives me a positive 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Then I'm going to plug in 0 here for x. Again, always put it in parentheses so that way you can easily tell that you're multiplying or wherever it is. Okay, so 0 squared is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 3 equals negative 3. Then I'm going to plug in 1. 2 times 1 squared minus 3. 1 squared is 1 times 1, so 2 times 1. Right? And then 2 times 1 here is 2. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Okay? And then the last one here, I'm going to plug in 2 for x. Okay? 2 squared is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. So all I did, right, is I took these input values and replaced x with them. Okay. So these are my x values. When I solved each of these, evaluated the function, that gave me the y values. So all I have to do is to graph it now. So negative 2, 5, negative 2, 5, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, 0, negative 3, 0, negative 3, 1, negative 1, 1, negative 1, and 2, comma 5, 2, comma 5. And then I'm going to connect it. So quadratic functions, which we'll learn how to officially graph later, they are kind of like a U shape. And then they technically go on forever, but because once I plug in 3, it's not going to fit in my graph, I'm just going to put the arrows to show that it continues going in both directions. Okay. That's it for today. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.